Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Welcome back to another video, and really excited to have you back on the channel. As you all can see, I am taking a little bit of a walk now. I am on travel, but even though I'm on travel, I still want to make sure that you guys are on that next step in your Linux journey. And as I take this walk here, the very next thing that we're going to talk about while we're taking this journey is marks. So in this video, I'm going to teach you guys all about what local marks are, what global marks are, and we're going to just dedicate it entirely to that subject because it is kind of a really cool feature, and I want to make sure that you guys get it down packed so that way you all are successful when you're using Vim, especially utilizing marks. I've used it a lot in a lot of my roles, and when I was a developer, it really helped me out. So I want to make sure you guys get that down packed. So as always guys, if you love my videos and they help out tremendously, give me a like for the video as it helps the channel grow. Make sure you subscribe to the channel, turn on your notifications so that way you're notified whenever we upload to the channel, and share the video with a family member or friend because of course maybe they want to learn about Vim too. You never know. Oh, one other item too, don't forget to check out the description guys. I tell you all the time in all my videos, the description is where we update all the latest and greatest information. So you always want to constantly be checking out the description for any new links, any new pieces of information, because that's where you'll find everything as far as the latest and greatest. So we're done with housekeeping, and I know you want to get to marks immediately. So let's wrap up here, and I'll see you guys on the other side once you're done learning about marks. Hey everyone, welcome back to the desktop. And of course, as I say in every video, by now, the desktop should be a familiar place for you, and if it isn't, you should definitely go and check out the links in the description as it'll take you to our previous video, so that way you can get comfortable because we always build on our previous knowledge that we've learned in past videos, so it's going to get very easy to get lost if you're not up to date. So go ahead and check out the description. Make sure that you're up to date on all of our videos. So with housekeeping out of the way, let's start off with today's lesson. So the first thing we do is click on activities. Let's go ahead and click on our terminal. And the feedback that we learned from our subscriber, we're going to make the terminal a little bit bigger for you guys. So hopefully that's good enough. So one of the first things that we're going to learn about today is something that's called marks. So you may be asking, well, what is a mark? And simply, marks are just a way for them to remember cursor position. I like to think of it as when people are traveling up a mountain or they're hiking, something along those lines, they leave a mark or something letting them know where they were previously. And you can do the same thing in Vim in the sense of leaving yourself marks so that way you know where you were previously in order to help you be very efficient while you're navigating either a particular file or multiple files, and we'll talk about the differences between the two. So the first one that I want to talk about now is what's called a local mark, meaning that you're leaving clues in the same file that you're in. And this is extremely helpful when you are navigating a big file. Let's take a look at an example. So the first thing that we'll do is we'll bring up Vim Tutor. And if you've seen our previous videos, Vim Tutor shouldn't be new to you. Let's go ahead and set numbers here. And of course, we set our number in order to be able to view what line number we are on. Okay, so that is pretty simple, and that shouldn't be new at this point. So if we can see this file, it has from line 1 all the way to line 970. So it's quite a large file, and there's a lot of information on here. And this is a good example where marks come into play. Let's say you've been watching my previous videos, and you've seen that we learned about a couple of things, such as insertion, deletion, substitution command. There's a lot of really good content where you say, hey, you know what? Let me view those particular parts of the file, and I need a way to see that very quickly. One of the tricks that I talked to you about earlier was, let's say you wanted to learn about moving the cursor. And as you can see, because it's right in front of the page here, it's on line 25. You could say, okay, go to line 25 and go. And we are on moving the cursor. What about if you want to learn about insertion? Insertion is on line 94. How did I know that? Well, I cheated. Obviously, I figured out where it was. But clearly, you can see how this can become a problem. You can't sit here and memorize each line number expecting where to go and understand where things are. We just spoke about moving the cursors on line 25. Line 94 is all about text editing or insertion. 784, that's about copy and pasting text. 554 is all about substitution. 508 is all about the search command. Those are all good topics to learn. And again, I don't want to memorize the line number in order to get there. So let's leave a mark on each line number so that way we can go back and forth real easily. So let's head back to line 25 and we are at moving the cursor. And this is where, like I mentioned, a local mark helps. It's clues left within the same file so that way we can navigate very easily. And we do that by utilizing lower cases in order to create our marks. Now that may sound a little confusing, but let's work through the examples so that way you can see what I mean. In order to leave a mark, you use lowercase m, and remember, we have to be in normal mode to do this. So moving the cursor will be lowercase a, and that will be our first mark. So we type M for mark and A, and just like that, we have left our first mark or our first clue in order to navigate the file very quickly. Now let's move over to insertion. Insertion was line number 94, and let's leave another mark here or another clue, and that'll be M for mark, lowercase b. And now B is our second clue, and that is left on insertion. Let's move over to 784. That's copy and paste text. We're going to create our mark by pressing M and C. And of course, remember, this is all lowercase. So C now is our third mark. Let's head over now to substitution on line 554. Lowercase m for mark and D, which is our next letter in the alphabet. And finally, let's head over to 508, which is the search command. And we're going to leave our mark here. And this is going to be E, which is our last mark. And of course, if you want to leave other marks, you can continue with F, G, H, right? You can go throughout the whole entire alphabet. So that's pretty cool. As we start navigating our file here, as you see, if we say to ourselves, you know, I want to go to the first mark or the first position that I was in before where I left my clue, how do I do that? And now what you can do is you can use a single quote followed by the letter which you gave that particular mark in order to get there fast. Let's take a look at that. So if I hit single quote and A, which was our first mark, remember that'll bring us to moving the cursor. Let's try that. Well, what do you know? We are on line 25 where we are moving the cursor, right where we left off before. Very cool. Let's go to the next mark, which was B. And if you recall, B was on line 94 and that was insertion. So we're going to do single quote, B, and there we are. We are in insertion on line 94. Let's go to the next mark, and that was C. And remember, that was line 784. So single quote, C, and what do you know? 784, copy and paste text. Let's take a look at mark D, or the clue that we left for D. Single quote, D, we're at the substitute command, line 554. Let's take a look at the last clue that we left, or the last mark. Single quote, E, and what do you know? The search command, 508, and we got there super quick, and it was really awesome because we don't have to sit here navigating this entire file, which was really massive. We can just leave clues along the way as we go. So in case we want to take a look at something that was important to us, we can use marks. And in this particular case, on a single file, we can use local marks in order to navigate. So that's awesome. Now, while we're talking about marks, there's another version of marks that we can take a look into that's really, really helpful. And this one is called global marks. In order to learn about global marks, there's a certain example that I have up for you. So let's head out of VimTutor and go to a C code that I wrote for you guys. So let's quit out of here, :Q. Let's head over into a directory that I called Hello World C for you guys. So if we take a look inside, there's 3 files. There's a main.c, there is a header file called hello.h, and then there is a hello.c. Now this example goes back to the days when I was writing some software. Now if you're not a software developer or you've never coded before, don't get bogged down with coding and what I'm about to show you. This is merely just seeing how global marks work. And this example works out phenomenal in order to see that. So we'll try to make this as simple as possible. So in order to do that, let's go ahead and compile this code in order to see what it does before we dive into it and apply global marks to it. So in order to do that, we use GCC. We'll give it a -o flag. We'll say hello, and we'll compile main.c, and we'll compile hello.c. And if we take a look now, we actually have a executable or a program that we can run, and the program is called hello. So let's go ahead and run that program. And all it does is says, hello, subscribe to Acosta E.T.F, and don't forget to hit the like button and the share button. Interesting on how you can code and tell a computer what to do. And if you guys are interested in learning about that, leave me a comment in the comment section below. And if enough people are interested, we can do some videos on how to go ahead and code and make computers do what you want them to do. So in order to see how global marks work, this is a perfect example in which we can take a look at the files in order to understand how global marks can be effective. So if I open up our main.c file, which is actually the main program, let's do vim main.c. You can see here that we have a basic program that all it does is it has something that's called print hello as a function. And you see print hello on line 5. Now you may be wondering, well, what if I wanted to change what print hello does? How do we do that? If you're a software developer, you know that you have to find this particular function and you have to go see where it is declared, and then you have to go inside of the function and change what it does. So in order to do that, we have to navigate to another file. And let's take a look at the hello.c file, because that is where the function is defined. And in order to take a look at the file, we have to open up another file in Vim. So here's the interesting problem now. In order to change what print_hello, what that function does, we have to go now to another file, and we have to take a look at what that function does, and then we have to adjust it. So that way, when we come back to our main program, which is this file, whenever we call that particular function, print_hello, it will do what we changed in the other file. So you need an easy way to go back and forth between files like we did in our local marks, right? Remember, we were on a single file and we were bouncing around. We left clues along the way. Well, you can do the same thing with multiple files, and that is called global marks. And how we do that is by using the lowercase m like we were doing before in order to initialize a mark. And remember, we do that in normal mode, except this time, instead of using lowercase letters for a local mark, we use capital letters for a global mark. So let's go ahead and leave a clue for us over here, or a mark, on line number 5 for our print hello function, and we do lowercase m for mark, and then let's do capital A, and that is our first global mark. Now what we can do is we can open up the file that contains this particular function called print_hello, and we can actually view and make adjustments, and we can bounce back and forth between the files, and I'll show you how to do that. So in order to open up another file within Vim, and a lot of people don't know this either, this is another trick, you can use :E, and let's go ahead and open that hello.c file that we have in our hello world C directory. So I can do tilde over here, which stands for home, hello world C, and let's look at hello.c. And what do you know, here is our function, and it is defined, and it tells us, hello, subscribe to Acosta E.T.F. Don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe. Let's leave another clue or another mark, so that way we can come back to this file easily and we can switch back and forth. So let's go to line number 5. Let's do M for mark, and let's go ahead and do capital B, because remember, our first global mark was our original file, which was the main program, and then our second mark, or our second clue, is going to be this hello.c file, which defines that particular function. So now, in order to add something to here, let's say we do printf global marks are cool. Let's add a new line. Let's close that out. Okay, so we are done editing this now. So we should see global marks are cool. Let's go ahead and write that. What if I want to take a look at the main program? We can do single quote and let's hit capital A and see what we get. Well, what do you know? We are back to the original file and we are back on line number 5, which was the print underscore hello. And it's the function that we were interested in. But more importantly, the mark brought us back to the same spot that we were in. Now let's switch back to the other file to see how we can switch back and forth between two files. And that's the beauty of global marks. And remember, we use capital B in order to leave that mark. And capital B should take us directly to the line number that we left off on, which was the function print underscore hello. So if we do single quote capital B, and as you can see, we left off on line number 5 where it says print hello. Single quote A brings us back to the main program. Single quote B brings us back to the hello.c. You can actually use global marks in order to get you back and forth between two different files or multiple files, right? Because you can use A all the way through Z. And it takes you to the specific spots where you left off. So this is a very cool feature, and one, when I was a developer, helped me out tremendously. So now that we made changes to our program where we said global marks are cool, let's actually compile that and let's actually see it run on the terminal. So I can say gcc-o, we'll call it hello, and we'll compile main.c and hello.c. And let's run our program again. And what do you know? Hello, subscribe to Acosta E.T.F. Don't forget to hit the like button and share. And global marks are cool. And just like that, guys, you learned all about local marks and you learned all about global marks. Advanced features for Vim, but when you break it down to its basic concept, it's really easy. And once you learn it, you become very, very productive utilizing this powerful text editor. So welcome back, everyone. And as I took my walk here in order to get some exercise while I travel, you guys should have all the information that you need to know about marks. So again, we touched a little bit on local marks. You should already have the information and know that local marks are for single files. And then of course, we talked a little bit about global marks. And of course, global marks, you can put marks throughout multiple files. So now that you've seen the information and you've seen a couple examples, go ahead and practice, because remember guys, practice makes perfect. Also, don't forget, make sure you check out the description as we update things on the channel. The description gives you all the latest and greatest information. But I'm gonna continue my walk here. You guys need to continue practicing, so that way you can get really good at utilizing Vim. And more importantly, guys, if you love the video, make sure you give me a like for the video as it helps the channel grow. Go ahead and hit that subscribe button and turn on your notifications so that way you're notified when we upload to the channel. And last but not least, go ahead and share the video with a family member or friend. That way they can learn all about marks and how they can be very effective in Vim utilizing marks. So I'm gonna finish up my walk here, guys. You guys continue practicing, but I'll see you all in the next video.